brought to you by Squarespace. Flying high over Germany, the unique jet-powered Me-262 rules the sky. That is, until now. Thundering from out of the sun comes a squadron of Yankees powered by jet fuel. Newly arrived to the continent, this innovative American-made aircraft would level the playing field against Hitler's supersonic armada. But this story never happened. The Americans would never really enter a jet fighter into the Second World War, despite having the technology years before. While an attempt had actually been made on paper by Lockheed, it was this second attempt that actually got built, but ultimately never saw action. Join me to witness the discovery of the jet engine and the Bell P-59 Aerocomet. Like many aerospace innovations, it was actually the Germans that got there first. In 1939, the Germans shocked the world with a totally radical new aircraft, one that was powered by thrust provided by a turbojet engine. There were no pistons, no propellers, and for Germany, it was the clear future of aerospace. This jet aircraft in particular was called the Heinkel He-178, and on the 27th of August 1939, the aircraft performed its maiden flight only days before Germany invaded Poland. The development of this engine was only thanks to the Allies from the previous war. Due to the restrictions placed on Germany by France, England, and the United States at the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was forbidden to develop any new piston aircraft. The issue was, jet engines weren't pistons, and being the savvy legalese Europeans that the Germans are, they came up with an entirely new type of plane. This development quickly woke up the Italians and the British, who got to work developing their own jet engine aircraft. But with the introduction of a sequel to the Great War in 1939, essential resources were diverted away from these operations to more tried and true technologies, like piston planes. It was the British who had a breakthrough though with a jet-powered aircraft as early as 1941, called the Gloucester E-28/39. It was during this taxi test of the aircraft that our hero of the story happened to be in the crowd. Major General Henry H. Hap Arnold, who took notice and knew that the Americans just had to have it. Returning back to the States with blueprints of the British jet engine in hand and a copy being transported on a top secret flight, it was time for America to have a go. But of course, he would have to keep it all top secret. In order for this new fighter jet to make a difference on the battlefield, it all had to be kept top secret. But if they wanted to make a really big splash on the world stage and put the Nazis in their place, they didn't need to roar into battle. They could have stayed at home and just made a Squarespace website. That's right, if you're launching a new airframe or just need a new website, then Squarespace is the best website builder. They have their own range of great templates, or you can have a go building your own design with their powerful code-free builder. They have built-in e-commerce tech to add products and start selling your products right away, and inbuilt email campaign marketing tools that are very easy to use, no matter the business. And they're already optimized for mobile phones, so you don't need to make a second mobile website. When you click that link down below, you're actually supporting the channel by helping fund the animations in the videos that you love so much. So if you are looking for a new website, think Squarespace, and think of www.squarespace.com/found to get 10% off your first site and domain. So do what the engineers couldn't possibly do back in 1940s and build a Squarespace website today. Upon arriving back in Washington, Henry Arnold got to work contacting the best of the best, top men. Discreetly and using spy tactics that would make James Bond blush. First, for the engine, he delivered it to the hands of General Electric to replicate and perhaps even improve on the British design. But an engine isn't worth diddly squat without a plane to fly it, so he turned to his friends at Bell to come up with a suitable fuselage. To keep it all hush-hush, he actually filed the program under the Bell XP-59, a discontinued fighter project that got cancelled a few years before. To any spies hunting around, this plane would seem like a crazy general's passion project who just wouldn't let it go. But he didn't stop there. To take the secrecy to the next level, the Bell engineers decided to rent out a loft above a car factory and not use their main plant. Chosen not only for the space, but also because any fabricated parts for this new plane would look just like car materials. They even made a propeller for the plane to stick on front, so if anybody stumbled upon the workshop or the plane sitting out in a field, they would assume that the Major General really was nutty in building his own little plane project. After about a year of work on the first prototype, it was ready, and they had to get it to an airfield to test it. Ironically, because planes are bigger than cars, it wouldn't fit in the elevator, so under the cover of darkness on the 12th of September 1942, they broke down the rear wall of the building, spreading bricks everywhere, and towed it to a nearby rail yard. It was shipped discreetly in the early hours to Murdoch Army Airfield, now famously known as Edwards Air Force Base, where on the 2nd of October, it took to the skies for the first time. Impressed by the progress made by the Bell engineers in just over a year, the Major General expedited another 13 prototypes to get through the test phase and get the jet into the hands of ace pilots as quickly as possible. But that's where things started to go wrong. Testing a new aircraft, let alone one powered by a new type of propulsion, is no easy feat. But the Bell P-59's design was very unique and new to the market. The P-59A aircraft featured an all-metal stressed skin in a semi-monocoque fuselage with an oval cross-section that contained a single pressurized cockpit. Its mid-mounted wing was straight and equipped with 2 spars and a false spar in the inner panel, while the landing gear was that typical tricycle style of the era and electronically powered, attached to the central spar. Under the wing roots were streamlined nacelles that housed a pair of General Electric J31 turbojets, the General Electric take on the British design. This would give it a top speed of around 413 miles per hour or 665 kilometers per hour at around 30,000 feet. You'll notice that this is hardly close to some of the Nazi designs that boasted a speed of over 1,000 kilometers per hour, but we'll get to that in a moment. The nose of the aircraft contained its impressive armament. 2 of the 3 XP-59As and most of the YP-59As had a pair of 37mm M10 autocannons, while later models, including the production design, had 1 M10 autocannon and 3 0.5-inch Browning heavy machine guns, perfect for air-to-air dogfights. The fuel system consisted of 4 self-sealing tanks which held a total of 290 US gallons, or just over 1,000 litres, and both production models were capable of carrying drop tanks under the wings with an extra capacity of 1,590 US gallons, or around 6,000 litres. That gave it a range of 375 miles, although that's just in combat. Moving at a slower speed, they could extend that out to around 1,000 miles or so. This design won hearts and minds in Washington, and an initial order of 100 jets was made to Bell. But by March 1943, security concerns over spy rings finding out about the project had it moved to a very remote location, where extensive testing was carried out, and the aircraft was found lacking. During diving trials in 1944, one prototype was forced to make a belly landing and another crashed when its entire empennage broke away, but this only revealed more flaws with the design. After conducting tests on the prototypes and pre-production P-59s over the next few months, numerous issues were discovered. These included unreliable and poorly responsive engines, very typical of early turbojets, instability during high-speed flights over 290 miles per hour, which caused the plane to snake in the sky, and ineffective gunnery capabilities. It turns out that armament wasn't so impressive. Additionally, the engines produced insufficient thrust, failing to meet expectations and significantly hampering performance. Plus, they had to constantly be repaired even if they got a little wet, something that they didn't discover when they were training out in the desert. Because of this, the initial order of 100 jets was reduced to only 50. This is all very bad news for the American jet fighter supposed to go toe-to-toe against the Me-262. Although I do need to point out, in this timeline of events, the Me-262 had not yet entered full operations in the European theatre. But this new technology had shown so much promise. How could Washington determine if the project should still go ahead? With a good old showdown, of course. In February of 1944, the Army Air Force pitted the jet against propeller-driven fighters such as the Lockheed P-38J Lightning and the Republic P-47D Thunderbolt in combat trials, and the older planes outperformed the jet. Consequently, and because the Army Air Force already had 50 production units on the way, the decision was made that the P-59 was best suited for training purposes, providing pilots with experience operating jet engine aircraft before even more powerful ones could be delivered. But a footnote to this story is that the Major General came back and actually returned the jet to the British to show them what they had done. And it would be a fair criticism to say that His Majesty's best pilots found it lacking, far inferior to the current jet aircraft that they had at the time, the Gloucester Meteor 1. The Army Air Force also tried to spin off this dud plane to the Navy, and typical rival fashion, sending 2 prototypes to the Pacific, but it was found to be terrible for carrier operations. It seemed that the second attempt by the United States would ultimately not pan out. But you know that famous saying, third time's the charm. Now that's an awesome tale for the next Found and Explained video. Thanks for watching.